Hi, folks. Democrats are having such a rough week that even CNN is starting to sound like Fox News after midnight. And you know things are bad when the party of empathy looks like it's going through the 5 stages of grief, except they got stuck on denial. Case in point, President Trump just did something that basically every Democrat swore was impossible. He actually brought peace to the Middle East. In fact, today, the remaining Israeli hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th, 2 years ago, have been returned. And The View, America's leading asylum for emotional outbursts, is suddenly whispering words like cautious optimism. That's right, no tears, no table slapping, just, stunned silence. Meanwhile, back in dystopian California, a man in West Hollywood tried charging his electric car and got charged at gunpoint for his Rolex instead. Don't worry, police haven't released a suspect description because that might interfere with California's new don't ask, don't solve policy that Democrats love to run with. This episode, folks, is brought to you by Gavin Newsom 2028, where crime is up, the lights are permanently off, and reality is whatever the press says it is. All that being said, let's jump into the Democrat version of progress that looks a lot like collapse, but just some better branding.
This happened at Hacienda Place near Santa Monica Boulevard. Abraham Cortez and his partner were visiting from San Francisco to see some friends. He tells us he went to charge his car, and when he returned, those 3 armed attackers jumped out of a gray car and ambushed him. A 4th was waiting in the car. They wound up taking his Rolex, 2 gold bracelets, and other jewelry before driving away.
They grab a hold of me, push me down. I kind of fall to my knees, and they immediately start asking me for my things. And, I'm just holding my hand out as I'm on the ground. I'm just holding my hand out, telling them, to take this. Here you go. Here you go. Up until they drove away, I was scared for my life until they left.
Cortez believes the robbery was random. He says he wasn't followed and his jewelry wasn't visible when he was robbed.
I was used to seeing stuff like this growing up in Brazil. It's habitual for a third world country, but it should never be acceptable in America. We have the infrastructure, we have the wealth, and every tool necessary to prevent this kind of chaos. Yet it's happening anyway, and it's happening because of Democrat policies. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Democrats have controlled Los Angeles for nearly a century. The current mayor is a Democrat, the city council is almost entirely Democrat, and some members even openly identify as socialists or communists. A few months ago, they were petitioning the LAPD chief to alert illegal aliens when federal immigration enforcement was coming to their area. Think about that, folks. Instead of protecting citizens from criminals, they're protecting criminals from law enforcement. It's no surprise, then, that Democrats have chosen crime over safety. They boast that crime is down, but that's statistical manipulation, clear and simple. They've simply redefined criminal behavior out of existence. Felonies have become misdemeanors, misdemeanors have become citations, and enforcement has completely vanished in some areas. That's why in Oakland, for example, you can literally see mobs attack police vehicles and officers are ordered to not respond. The same playbook Los Angeles is quietly following. The mayor here, Mayor Karen, has done everything possible to tie the hands of the LAPD because chaos serves her politics. This isn't random incompetence, folks. It's clearly ideological. I like to remind you guys every time we talk about her. Mayor Karen was trained in Cuba under Fidel Castro's Marxist regime, a lifelong Marxist activist whose entire career has been about undermining American principles from within. And this is the direct result of that, folks. A city where being robbed at gunpoint for your watch while charging your electric car is considered just routine. This isn't just about crime, by the way. It's the normalization of fear. Marxist movements thrive under disorder because they need citizens to live in a constant state of insecurity. Fear justifies control. Fear allows them to expand the state and erode freedom. That's why this isn't just a political fight, folks. It's a theological one. Marxism views the state as a supreme authority, a substitute for God. America's founding, by contrast, is built on Christian morality, the belief that our rights come directly from God and not from government. The Constitution itself exists to limit state power. Marxism, on the other hand, exists to exalt it. And when you replace God with government, you get exactly this. Lawlessness masquerading as compassion, chaos framed as justice, and a society so lost it mistakes collapse for progress. And since we're on this topic, Kamala Harris is so dumb and dishonest, it's honestly criminal.
Don't know if we can trust what's coming out of the Department of Justice right now. And when you have an administration and individuals who are manipulating the justice system of America.
That's what you did.
In that way, they best understand that this is not only about something that affects the individuals that they're targeting, This affects all of us who believe that, flawed though it may be, that a justice system is actually supposed to be blind. In the way that it does its work, not targeting people because of who they are.
It's especially rich to hear Kamala Harris talk about justice being blind because she spent her entire career doing the exact opposite. We can go back 20 years to when she was California's Attorney General, where she weaponized the state's justice system against ordinary citizens, enforcing draconian, racially biased truancy laws that even led to the arrest of a mother whose daughter was hospitalized with sickle cell disease. That's who she's always been. Someone who uses a system to punish regular folks while pretending to be their champion. And now, after years of silence while Biden's DOJ targeted conservatives, censored Americans, and coordinated with big tech to take things down like memes they didn't like, Kamala is suddenly warning about the politicization of justice. This is someone who was part of an administration that helped put people on no-fly lists just for holding the wrong political opinions, and then acted shocked when anyone called it out. So when Harris claims that DOJ shouldn't target individuals because of who they are, she's not making a moral argument. She's describing her own record. This is the left's favorite move: weaponize an institution, then feign outrage when accountability swings back the other way. It's pure projection, and it exposes the central rot of modern progressivism, an ideology that doesn't believe in equal justice, only in control. That being said, Democrats are melting down today because President Trump just did what the global elite, the UN, and 4 decades of peace process experts couldn't. He ended the war in Gaza, brought the hostages back home, and did it without surrendering Israel's security or caving to woke international pressure. 2 years after the October 7th massacre, Hamas has agreed to Trump's peace plan, releasing all remaining hostages and disarming in exchange for a phased Israeli withdrawal and a humanitarian rebuilding plan backed by Arab nations. It's a massive geopolitical shift brokered through strength rather than appeasement. The deal includes an international board of peace chaired by Trump and Tony Blair to oversee reconstruction under a neutral technocratic Palestinian committee. No terrorist regime, no endless foreign aid black holes. Democrats, meanwhile, are scrambling to spin it because it undermines their entire foreign policy narrative that Trump was dangerous, reckless, and capable of diplomacy. In reality, Trump achieved what they could only tweet about: peace through deterrence. This moment exposes how much of the Democrat worldview depends on perpetual conflict and moral posturing. And all in all, Trump's deal shows what happens when America leads with clarity, not guilt. And oh boy, are the Democrats mad about that.
I'm cautiously optimistic because we've been here before and then it's gone wrong. And I pray that this time it's different. I stayed up last night until, 2 or 3 in the morning watching the first batch of hostages as they were released. And I love that there was a split screen that was showing the joy of the hostages being released, but also the throngs of people from Gaza walking back, a sea of people walking back into that city that's rubble. And you think of all the suffering, just 2+ years of relentless, unending, unimaginable suffering. The families suffering, the victims suffering, the hostages suffering, the people who've had to flee Gaza, the innocent ones suffering. And for what? For what purpose? Were these 2 years of such pain? So, honestly, let me just quote John Lennon: can we please just try to give peace a chance? Yeah.
Well, that's a bizarre whole lot of nothing that Ana Navarro just said. It's especially rich to hear her call herself cautiously optimistic because, of course, she can't be fully optimistic. The peace deal was brokered by President Trump. Democrats are furious that Trump accomplished something they never could. He ended a war, brought hostages home, and did it through strength, not appeasement. If this were a Democrat in office, they'd be doing nothing for years and then showing up at the last minute just to take credit. Trump's administration, working alongside Marco Rubio and key regional mediators, held direct conversations, even with Hamas, to reach this deal. That's what actual diplomacy looks like. But Democrats can't stomach giving him credit, so they're pretending to not notice. Even Kamala Harris offered a half-hearted nod, while other Democrats are melting down online, conveniently forgetting they spent 2 years chanting Free Palestine. Now that peace and a two-state framework are finally on the table, they're moving on to the next outrage cycle for sure. I mean, just give it 2 days and they'll find a new crisis to moralize about. Now, Navarro even asked, for what purpose was all of this suffering? as though she forgot how all of this began. It started with October 7th, 2023, folks, when Hamas launched an unprovoked massacre during a Jewish holiday, the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. Over 1,200 people were slaughtered, many at a music festival, and hundreds were kidnapped. That's not resistance from Hamas, it's just pure terrorism. And Israel responded as any nation would if its civilians were butchered and taken hostage. Just think about it, folks. If Mexico did that to the United States, America would strike even harder. War is horrific. No one denies that. But honesty in this case matters. Hamas was elected by Palestinians. They governed Gaza as a terrorist state and used civilians as human shields while their leaders lived in luxury in Qatar. To ignore that is to shift blame from the aggressor to the victim. The truth is simple. Israel didn't choose this war. Hamas did. They started it. And for the first time in years, thanks to Trump's leadership, there's a real chance for peace built on accountability, not illusion. This isn't about being pro-Israel or anti-Palestine. It's about being pro-truth. And the truth is that Democrats can't process that peace came from a man they swore would only bring chaos. Whenever we go through historical moments like this, folks, I think it's important to take a step back and pay attention to everyone's reactions, because that's where the truth usually hides. And when you do that, you'll notice a pattern that never changes. Democrats are not invested in principles, in peace, or in prosperity. They're invested in power, accumulating it, protecting it, and weaponizing it against you. They'll talk about justice, unity, and compassion, but only when it benefits them politically. The moment peace breaks out under someone else's leadership, they recoil, because peace doesn't serve their narrative. They need chaos to justify control. They need division to justify dominance. Just look around. From their media figures to their politicians to their activists, they all move in unison to expand their reach, not your freedom. Some examples include Nancy Pelosi, who's built a career trading influence for fortune, turning public office into a private enterprise. You also have Ilhan Omar following in the same footsteps, going from nearly nothing to millions in just a few years of public service. These people don't serve you, folks. They exploit you. They see citizens as leverage, not as lives. So ask yourself, how long will you keep giving power to people who openly despise a country that gives them theirs? How long will you tolerate leaders who sneer at the very values that built America? The only way back to prosperity is through a new generation of leadership grounded in humility, faith, and service. Men and women cut from the same cloth of Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Monroe, who understood that power must be restrained by principle and that freedom without virtue collapses on itself. We need leaders who would sooner wash the feet of their people than sell their souls for influence. Because only when we return to that spirit of service before self and God before government will this nation finally begin to heal. Anyway, you tell me what you think in the comments down below. Hope you have a terrific day. Peace.